Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is a little different. We are live on location. It's your girl Mel with Shop Talk. And I am here at an election Enlightenment in Youngstown, Ohio. And I have the pleasure to have sitting next to me Miss Janet Tarpley, who is running for councilwoman.
That's correct. That's correct.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now tell me this. Your name is very familiar because we know Janet Tarpley for mayor.
Right. And we know Janet Tarpley, who already served 8 years in council.
I was going to ask you that.
Mayor. Right.
Okay.
And then what happened was that I was on council for 8 years, and I call it the Renaissance years of the city because that's when we did so much work.
Okay.
That was between 2008 through 2015. I'll say 2007 to 2015, which we launched YNDC at that time. We also talked about and lobby for downtown hotel, the amphitheater. We had 3 industrial parks. Matter of fact, we did about $3 billion of economic development when I was on council the first time.
Okay, so when you were on council, I want to get clarity. When you were on council the first time, so you guys are the ones that manifested the hotel that we see now, the DoubleTree.
Right. Yes, we're the ones that actually talked about it. We did the groundwork, and then you actually saw it probably in the next administration. Probably did it. But
that's usually how things work.
But we was the ones that put it together.
Okay.
Right. And it had already started, but it wasn't open. They was working on it at the time, so we unfortunately didn't see it. So sometimes if you're not there, you don't get the credit. But the amphitheater as well,
from the blind eye.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't understand that because even if you look at as far as presidency, they'll look and maybe the previous president put it in action,
right? And
then the sitting president is the one that's looking like that's who did it.
Yes, right. That's how.
So yeah,
because government is slow.
Yes.
So we gotta go through this and that.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
But hey, the good news is that it's here, and that we're doing something in Youngstown. But we did a lot, and we also we brought V&M Steel here, and that was a $1 billion project. So we did a lot of good work, and we was termed out. So I was termed out. I had to go. It wasn't that I could choose not to, but I had to go. And so since I had to leave, I went on, and then I tried to run for state representative, in which I went against a big name. Hagan was a huge name, And he was there for a long time. Then this was his first time. I think his wife ran. So, but the name was strong, but I did okay. But I wish.
And you know what? People do vote according to familiarity,
right?
If that's from being familiar, yeah,
that's right.
And it's like, oh wait, I don't know these people, but I do know this name, and I'm just going to go ahead and just mark that ballot.
Right.
Not okay.
No, it's not. Nope.
Not
and
okay.
What? And I think that, and then the other thing that maybe my family has been in the city of Youngstown for a number of years, and we've been active in the community, and myself, and I worked for juvenile for 30 years.
Okay.
Working with young people, trying to keep them out of trouble. I worked in prevention. I grew up when there was huge problems with drugs. And we was young. In 1984, we hit the drug situation, and we had AIDS coming on all at the same time, And to me, we had 2 parts of addiction. We had people who was on drugs, and then we had people who was addicted to the money, who was selling drugs. They was addicted to the lifestyle that it brought, And it just hit the city so hard, it actually destroyed a lot of our, it destroyed the city.
It did. It destroyed a lot of cities, though, and not just this one.
Yes.
I want to touch base. Let's back up a little bit. When you were saying that you termed out. Now, I do know, reading, that they were talking about, there was some talk of having I thought it was already city council was termed out, or they didn't want to be and vote yes, no. Explain that.
Well, what happened recently, they had on the ballot about term limits.
Okay. And
the people voted for it. 82% of the population say, hey, we want to change. We want all council to basically, we want all council to go. 82% said that. But the way it was worded, I guess they didn't word it correctly, so it doesn't apply to the people who they probably was trying to get rid of. So at this point, if I win, I would have to have term limits again. I'll be able to do 8 years, and that'll be it, instead of moving on. So
okay, I was one that voted for the term because I'm a firm believer of change, and I get that not all change is good change, but change is necessary. Now, there's a new saying. We know the saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
you're right.
But there's a new saying, which a lot of people don't know, but I'm here to tell the people.
Go ahead, tell them.
The young people coming in, when you're sitting at work and you're like, this young boss came in and now they fired me, because they have a new term in management meetings that says, if it's not broke, break it. The strong survive.
Okay.
So that's what's happening. So for my people who are seasoned at their jobs and they're like, wait, why are they telling me to do this? We didn't do this the whole time. That's what they're taught.
Well, you know what? I think that I was for the term limits too. You know, and I'm gonna tell you the reason. And then now that I look at it, it doesn't matter because I'll be out anyway. But I'm not so for if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I want, if it's working and it's moving forward. I think that if you continue to have good ideas and you continue to be prosperous and letting everybody else be prosperous, and you're doing good for your ward, and you're not just sitting in that chair and just thinking that, oh, this is my ward and I ain't got to do nothing, and you don't do anything, I think something's wrong with that. You know, so I think that you got to work for the people, and the people put you in that chair. That chair don't belong to you. It belongs to them. And when you don't work for them, then they should vote you out.
And that seems to be
and that's
the discrepancy.
And you know, and so, you know, and say what you said again so I can hear that again.
If it's not broke, break it.
Break it, yep. And you know what? Because if you're strong at what you're doing, you're going to survive anyway.
Bam.
Okay? You're going to survive. If you're good at what you do, people are going to come to you because you're good. And you don't, you know, when you're good, and that's what you really want to do, you're going to be good today, tomorrow, and for always. You know, and I am not so super religious, but I am a spiritual being.
Okay.
And my belief is that we are created in God's image, and He wants us to strive to be the best. And if we're striving to be the best all the time, what's wrong with us being where we are?
Preach.
Yeah. So that's where.
That's your Sunday word.
That's it. That's all and it is Sunday. Huh?
See, there you go.
That's what I believe. You know, and but unfortunately, what has happened is that a lot of people do get in those chairs, and they get big-headed. They get filled with power and prestige, and they forget about the people who they're there for. You know, I got a problem with them. I really do.
It's almost like a status thing, and that's my next question. And anybody that know me, and if this is your first time listening to Shop Talk with Mel, you're learning me. It seems like it's a status thing, and it's like, well, this is the title that I hold. This is my obituary. I call them obituary creators. This is what's going to be in my obituary, so I am the person.
Right.
And not do anything.
Right.
And just constantly looking like the man or woman.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that's what they have that title. And what are you doing?
What are you doing?
But then you have the people in the community who are suffering.
That's right.
Who's sitting there like, okay, wait, I did talk to this person. I called and they didn't call me back. That's a problem for me. Now, all right, I won't say where I live. But I will say something that I found out, which was really interesting. And I work in corrections. This guy who I didn't know, I called because his garage fell down and the bricks was there and all that other stuff or whatever. Anyway, fast forward, I go around to his place because I was like, wait, this fell down. This needs to be fixed. And all his bricks messed up my landscaping in my backyard, on my fence, everything.
Right.
So I was like, it was about 2 years. I waited a little bit, like, you got to clean this up.
You waited 2 years and he hadn't cleaned it up.
He hadn't, nothing. So when I go over there, the guy says to me, and the reason I said, I'm in corrections, this is important. When I pull over there and I see him, he looked familiar, but I didn't know him, And then he says, Nurse Ross. He was like, it's me. He was an inmate. That's why it took 2 years, because he was locked up for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Here's the thing. He said, I have to tell you this, though. He said, you were the only one that did not call and report me. I said, I reported you. And I told him that. I said, but it was for that. It wasn't for anything else. Mm-hmm. This is the scary part. He gave addresses. That guy had addresses on who reported him. So they told their council person, and the council person, he was able to get the address of who reported him to the council person. Now, what if he wanted to retaliate?
Right.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's elderly people. Mm-hmm. And knowing what I knew on the inside, what he was in there for,
right.
You put them at risk. And these people are saying things, and then people wonder, well, we need to take our neighborhoods back. Why aren't the citizens saying anything? We need to solve these murders. Why aren't the citizens saying anything? That's why I had to give that example.
Right.
That is why, because their life is in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. I had no idea that if you call a report that they're going to tell you who the heck called.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't. They shouldn't call you. But that sounds like somebody who want to take the heat off of them and put it on somebody else. And the only thing they have to say, hey, you got some violations. This is what's going on. And it's an eyesore, and you got to pick it up. Well, who called that? I'm telling you, this is my job, is to go around and to see what's going on, and this is what's happening. That's all. So why you got to tell anybody's name?
He had them written down.
Yeah, but that right there should not happen, and it shouldn't happen for anything. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't happen for anything. Now, you might have some people that say, I'm calling on you, and they don't care. But if you don't...
That would be me.
It's okay, because some people like that. But if you don't want nobody to know, and you want your neighborhood to look nice, why do that? So, yeah, that's something I'd have to look into when I become councilwoman again.
There you go. I heard that.
Yep, I would look into that.
Now, tell me the operations of being on council.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I know.
Okay.
And what the peepers
Rest,
let the people see him. Rest in peace, your teeth. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
The president of council. Mm-hmm. Now, if something happens where the mayor can't fulfill their duty or have to step down, the president goes.
Right.
What control do council really have? And I'll explain a little bit of what I'm talking about. I'll give you an example. So if there's an issue and you're like, okay, let me get downtown. Mm-hmm. And downtown looks fabulous, I got to say. Mm-hmm. I like it. I just can't stand the parking. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we started that when I first got in here. It was a desert. There wasn't nothing there. We moved it. We made that happen.
All right. Y'all heard it.
Yep.
You heard it.
Yes, we did.
Okay. So it's like, okay, you have downtown and you see that's happening. Chill can. Mm-hmm. Over there on the east side.
Right.
I got my own problem with that. But if you say, hey, this needs to occur, and you're the council person for, which one are you running for?
6th Ward.
6th Ward. Okay. Well, let's talk about something that's happening over there.
Okay.
What is happening over there? Tell
Nothing.
us. Okay, because it's kind of like
we just had a murder. Unfortunately, a beautiful young girl got murdered. But
yeah, I'm like, did you hear me? I was like, what is happening? I think that's kind of cool. Like, yeah, that was tragic, and that was just tragic.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say I decide, let's do the railroad tracks.
Okay.
The railroad, and it's an eyesore. Real talk, it really is. But you have that there, and you're like, okay, well, we need to fix some things, or we need to fix our parks. There we go. That's a good one.
Okay.
The parks, we need to update these parks. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, we have this amount of money to fix the parks.
Right.
For every park in Youngstown.
Right.
But yours is terrible.
Right.
People are being injured, okay? Mm-hmm. Do you go, you present, is it like a list to say, okay, well, we're going to do like Bailey Park. Well, what is it now? Nick John. I'm dating myself,
Yeah,
right?
that's all right. And Nick Johnson Park.
Is it like a list of parks and you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or can it skip?
Yeah, you can skip it. But what happens is, you have to do it intelligently because we have limited resources. So we have to look at where's the population of people.
Okay.
When I was on council, we had a study done to see where's the kids actually are. And if the kids are, let's say they are between Glenwood and Oak Hill. Or Glenwood, let's say Glenwood and I would say Glenwood and Hillman. Then you would want to put your park somewhere where the kids are. Okay. So the reason why a lot of parks are kind of look horrible is we haven't done
Lincoln.
We haven't done a good job. And Lincoln's a beautiful park.
It is.
Lincoln's a beautiful park. We haven't done a good job. And we got to be the ones who say we like it. Because we did have a study done about Lincoln Park. And some people's like, the people that actually did the study said that it was kind of scary. And I was like, it's scary because you don't live there. So you would think that.
We always had our cookouts there, yeah.
We love Lincoln Park. I said we have music in it. We have jazz in the park. So, you have to find out where the kids at and fix those parts. And the other part is that sometimes we just got to get on the workers and to do their job and that department head to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. Baby! So that's one of the main reasons why stuff is looking like it looks.
Baby!
And the other thing is that we have to have leaders that care about that. I'm going to tell you, when I first got into office back in 2008, I looked at the parks and said, hey, my kids ain't got nowhere to go. Okay. And that's how they keep getting in trouble. They ain't got nowhere to go. We got to figure this out. I said, but I had a bigger problem. The bigger problem was that I had all these abandoned structures that kids was getting raped in. They was dumping bodies in it. I was like, well, I got to clean it up. And they was like, Miss Tarpley, why are you tearing? I said, I got to tear down. Sometimes you got to tear it down and then build it back up. I said, so I promise you that I'm going to tear this stuff down that I cannot fix, that cannot be fixed. Mm-hmm. We ended up we launched YNDC because YNDC was an organization that came in and their specialty was to do rehab and also help revitalize areas. We didn't have one of those. You go to Cleveland, every one of them have a YNDC. And every council person has a YNDC. We didn't have one, so we still only got one entity that's trying to take care of the whole city. Well, what they were saying at first, they say, "Hey, we can't take care of the whole city. We're gonna concentrate here in the 5th Ward, and we're going to do such and such." I say, "Hey, if you concentrate in the 5th Ward, that's like me concentrating to cleaning and taking care of just my kitchen when my front room, my dining room, and my bedroom's falling apart." I said, you can't do that. Y'all got to get in everybody's ward. So honestly, me and Ann Gillen, we pushed, and so we had them go in everybody's ward. Now, what I'm hearing now is that they're not in everybody's ward anymore. Well, that's because your council person isn't saying enough to make them be in there. Okay. Because you're getting dollars. They're getting dollars for the entire city. They base it on the statistics of saying that this city needs this and that. And they're getting dollars. They're getting grant money. And plus, we are giving them money from our community development block grants. So we're giving them money too. So those are the things you have to do. And I don't know if I probably all over. So, you're good. But the other part of this is that you got to have 4 people that's going to agree with you because they got to vote.
That's where I was going with that.
Because we have ordinances. You got to write this up in the ordinance. They got to come before council, and it has to be a majority vote. So I can't just say, I just want this on my ward, and I want this just on. And a lot of times, I don't know how we got to where we are. It seemed like that has happened. That only certain areas got certain things.
Yeah, where are my sound effects?
And but those days are gone. They have to be gone. Mm-hmm. And this is the reason why you got to have somebody who has such a love for the city that they're willing to fight for it in the city that they are. That's it. And they got to be able to also work with other people. But you can't just sit there and just be happy because I'm sitting in this seat and hey, I'm getting a little dollars, or I'm, and it's all about me and this is making me feel good like I'm important. But the real important people are the people that you represent. The real important people are the people that you're supposed to be helping. The real important people are the people who are, do you hear them screaming out? I hear them. That's what they're saying.
You hear the siren? Did you hear the siren? No, right there. I love, like, that was right on time.
So that's what the real important people are. And I want us to focus on that. And that's what I'm here for. That's the reason why I'm running. All my life I have tried to help people and because that's what my heart says. I think that when you do what your heart says, then you don't work. And so I guess I have never worked at all because I've been doing what my heart says. And I don't always, when I was working at detention, a lot of young people died that I know. A lot of young people died. I knew them, and I also knew the perpetrator. And I'm gonna tell you, out of all the young people that I know, there's only 2 young people that I had a real problem with. And because I just seen evil in them, and that's the truth. But mostly all of them was some good. There was something good about them, even though the murderers. They might murder somebody. They still was something good about them. And it's just sad that they got to where they are.
Yes, situations, circumstances.
Why at another point in life,
and it probably was resources
and family structure. Sometimes, I also did this. I probably did everything in juvenile except be the judge. But I started out as a receptionist, then I ended up being a group leader. Then I was a supervisor, a hearing officer. At the end, I was a director, but I also was a mediator. I'm a trained mediator from the Supreme Court of Ohio. So mediation, do all of that. But what was really I loved was that I worked a program called the Parent Project.
Okay.
And here I'm working with parents and children. I'm working with parents who are having problems with their children, in which we are trying to get them all on the same page. And some of them just didn't know it. And some of them had some bad kids that they were scared of. And so we have to come and help them. I hear everybody saying we need mentors, but also we need some mentors for the parents. Because some of them just don't know, and some of them just so frustrated and burnt out because they've been trying to do stuff with these kids, and they're just not listening. And they feel like they're so isolated and alone. But when we came in, we said, hey, we got the parents back. You got to do this and you need to do that. And at the same time, there was some stuff that the parents need to do. And I had to tell them, hey, you got to do this and you got to do that. So we worked on both sides of the fence. And that's what we really continue to need. I don't know if they're still doing that. Now, I didn't retire 5 years ago, 2018. But I see a little uptick in juvenile crime. I see an uptick. So I don't know if they're still doing that program. The other lady that was with me that did the program, most of us is retired now.
Also, you need somebody else to come in to replace.
Now, we had a younger person that could do it, but I don't know if they're actually doing it. I don't know what's going on.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what I see just sitting back watching. What I see is people not wanting to shift and move and switch positions. That's why I was for this whole term thing and letting the young people come in. And when I say resources, when you're talking about family structure, well, they go hand in hand. And if the resources was available, the family structure would be different.
That's right.
And people need to understand that. And that's why it is important to get good people on council.
That's right.
To stand up for the people and say, hey, what is your need? Let's address your need. Right. I'm glad you answered the question as far as like for the parks, because I couldn't figure that out. I'm like, what they do is pick and choose?
Yep.
It makes sense. Where are the children? Okay, let's focus over here. Let's address this issue and let's handle this. So I like that. Even with the, when you were talking about the whole voting process, I'm glad you said that, because I do know just peopling, they get an alliance. Everybody on Survivor, that's how I call it. And it's like, this is my alliance, let's vote against this person. Why? Because we don't like this individual, instead of looking at what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, we can't get caught up on personality. We're supposed to be caught up on the issue.
Right.
Let's get caught up on the issue. Because if we get caught up on the issues, mostly everybody I'm hearing saying almost the same thing. So if we're saying almost the same thing, then why can't we work together to get this done?
Ego, because of the deliverance and ego. It's like, oh, well, you shouldn't have said it this way. Well, should I put a cherry on top?
Yeah,
like,
right. Right.
It's interesting. So what does the president of council do?
Actually,
is the president like the mediator or just break the tie?
He do
help
break
me.
a tie, and he runs the meeting during council. He runs the big council meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but he's actually just sitting waiting on something to happen to the mayor. He's almost like the vice president.
Okay. There we go. That's okay. That works.
Yeah.
All right. I got you.
And I'm gonna tell you what else I would like to do.
That's what I was going to say. So what changes would you like to see in your ward?
Well, one of the things that I did while I was on council, I brought the county and the city together to create the SERVE program. And that's because there was it was people between 18 and maybe 30 that I saw that was like having a whole bunch of issues. Mm-hmm. And, and they was causing havoc at that time. And what I want to do, I want to work with the unions, and I want to do a skilled trades program in which they'll be doing be in skilled trades, maybe 1 to 2 years, actually learning skilled trades. Because I think that right there can change your life. You can make $90,000, $80,000, $70,000 a year in the skilled trades.
Oh, you definitely can. And you don't have all the loans.
That's right. And that could change your life overnight. And when you're helping adults like that are having what? Children.
Yeah, so tell me this. When you say that, skilled trades, are you speaking like Shop and Career Center?
You know what? That'll be next. But right now, I'm talking about the bigger ones. I'm talking about plumbing, welding, heavy equipment movers. I'm talking about those right now. But yes,
industrial.
Industrial. Mm-hmm. But I will be that'll be next. That'll be the next level. Mm-hmm. Because when the young people come in, when we have what they call a call-in, mm-hmm. and they get the people who's been acting up, okay, and they tell him, hey, you gotta straighten up your life. But we telling them to straighten up, and they say, okay, you gotta go to school. A lot of them can't go to school because a lot of them already have problems in school. That's the reason why they end up doing the things that they're doing. But everybody can have a skill. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people work good with their hands. Maybe they don't do good in book kind of atmosphere, but they know things and they can learn things, and so they work good with their hands. And if we can put them with the unions, that right there will change their life, because you get caught up in, like I said before, you get caught up in the money of drugs. Well, can we offer you something else?
Let me tell you something. Usually the drug dealers, they have to be excellent in math, mm-hmm. chemist, mm-hmm. and I'm big on rebooting your hard drive and redirection. Mm-hmm. And when you see it at a young age, it's like, okay, let me develop this in a positive direction. Right. That's why teachers are so important. Right. Mm-hmm. They need to get paid more, even though we're not talking about that, but I'm just saying they're so important because they'll see things and be like, okay, or you'll get that note. The parent wake up parents, mm-hmm. you'll get that note to say, oh, they're flipping around, they're jumping, can't sit still. Put them in gymnastics. Mm-hmm. If you can't afford it, get a mattress out back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Have them flip.
Because there's always there's something out there, some programs that we might not know of.
Resources.
That's right.
Resources.
So we got to bring them together. So those are the things. I think it's real important mm-hmm. to do skilled trades, because a hairdresser can make $50,000 a year.
Baby, guess what? Let me tell y'all something. Shop Talk with Mel. It's Shop Talk for a reason. I'm a licensed cosmetologist since '91.
See. All right.
Then I changed my career over to nursing and radio.
But listen.
But they getting paid.
That's right. And also a nurse. We need more nurses. We already know. And that, to me, okay, let's look at what we need and let's train our kids. Because everybody's not going to go to college, but they can do something. Everybody can do something.
Now, in the city of Youngstown, Shop and Career Center.
Yep, but I want them to push soften more.
And they need to, because I'm going to tell you, they had the nursing program years ago. Mm-hmm. And cosmetology. I went to Shuffling through cosmetology, okay. So when I graduated, that's how that happened.
Right.
The nursing program, it was good. It was a lot of people that became nurses, mm-hmm. and they had a career that's still doing it and just excelled. It's like, hey, watch this.
And at this juncture, a lot of them is older now. So we got to replenish and keep on moving. You know? So I really want to push that too. So
I'm glad those look, both my two programs are still there. So that's a good thing.
Isn't that great?
It is, but I know hair is good making money.
And you can go anywhere.
Yes.
And you can go anywhere. And my thing is, I want to rebuild, our city. And in order to do that, we got to have people here that have the skills to do it.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, to have the skills to do it. The problem that I notice where we are, and I say we, as born and raised here, moving out and expanding is because we are able to fly in other cities and states. And it's sad that you can't fly right in your own city because people don't want to move. Mm-hmm. They don't want to give up or relinquish control. And I'm just going to say that instead of saying, hey, come along, let me show you what I know. Mm-hmm. And I actually heard this with my own ears. Okay. The game is sold, not told. How do you say that to your future? I thought that I was outdone. I was like, wow. I would have never thought. It really hurt my feelings. It hurt my feelings, and it wasn't to me. It was to somebody else. And I had to go to the young man. After that, I was like, listen, let me tell you what direction, because all they asked for was direction.
You're right.
And that person's response was, the game is sold, not told.
Wow.
That could have broke him.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was just like, this is a child. Like, they're in school still, and you grown. And they're saying that. And they were looking. He was a role model to him. He went. Anytime somebody comes to you and asks you for direction,
that's right.
You are a role model to that person, and they think highly of you. And to say that, I just looked, and the look on his face, it was like the sparkle went out of his eye.
Right. And we should never do that. Wherever I was at, I always try to encourage young people and bring them along.
Groom them or something. You're not going
to be here forever. That's for one.
Right.
And two, as we get older, we need them to do something so I can have my check at home too.
I heard that. Right. I ain't trying
to get robbed. They're building, like they're working. That's taking care of my Social Security. So all of it, we all are connected, whether we like it or not.
Right.
So we have to reach out to each other. It doesn't make any sense to not want to.
That's what I say. Now, being on city council previously and saying, hey, I want to do this again. Is it a want or a need? Or talk to the people?
Well, it's both.
Come on.
And I'm gonna say the reason why it's a need is because I still live here, and I want to be in a thriving environment. I don't want us to keep surviving. Now, me as an individual, Janet Tarpley, I'm retired. I retired at 52 years old. That means I put in my work,
Okay.
And everybody can't say that. But I can say that because I did what I needed to do, and I've been doing it for a long time. And the other part is that I'm young enough and got the energy, and I'm progressive in my thinking, that not only can I benefit myself because I live here, but I can benefit others too. It makes no sense to me to know what I know and to have the desire. And, and sometimes, and I'm angry too sometimes. I'm angry not because I'm mean or evil. I'm angry because it's the fight in me that want to fight for myself and everybody else in this community to make it better. And I think that if you don't have that fight in you, or you too tired, then tap out, because we don't have no room for timeout. We can't say timeout because it's still going. Things are still happening. If you can't do it no more, tap out and say I'm done. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if I don't feel like I can do this anymore, I'm gonna tap out. I ain't gonna just I ain't gonna say, oh, time out, I'm tired, because we got too much of a severe problem. We got people dying. We got the elderly who not feeling safe in their house.
And that is so tragic after they done paid for their house.
Invested their time and effort right here. And they can't go nowhere.
And then they tell them to move, to get another house, another loan. Why? That's ridiculous.
They need to be made and felt safe. And so those are the reasons why I'm running. And I'm gonna tell you the other. I want to do a senior housing. Now, a friend of mine, he came to town because his father lived here, and so he went. Oh, Jenny, I'm getting my father out of here because he can't take care of his house no more. You know, he just can't. He's 90 years old. He can't take care of his house. I think he was like 80 something years old at the time. And I said, well, okay, where are you going to put him? He looked around. He's like, well, I want to keep him. He wants to stay in Youngstown. He loved Youngstown. But he said, I don't see nothing where I want him to stay. He's like, I just want him to have a nice apartment, but I don't see nothing. So he was like, Jen, I think I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna build an apartment complex. So him and we've been doing our research. That's one of the things we're gonna do.
Wow, that's awesome.
He not only did he talk about it, he done put some money on it. So the project is like a $2 million project. And he has almost more than half of the money. So we need to get some other funding, and we can do it. I've seen a bunch of, we've been going to different places, seeing what we can see, and I think it can be done. It's not like it hasn't been done. It's been done all over the place. So we can do it here too.
Awesome. That's great. We need safety for our seniors.
That's
big
right.
time.
And I've been hearing people say, well, Jen, what you going to do for the young people? I said, well, if we take care of the old people, hopefully you live long enough so you be old too. So it's not like I'm not going to take care of you, because I'm trying to put a place for you to be as well in the future. Because when you're 40, I'm going to tell you 60 come quick.
Baby.
Okay, because when you was 40, 50 happened. You're like, what? I can't believe I'm 50. In my mind, when I was 52, I said, I feel 25. But they say I'm 52.
Okay, but like, what y'all say? Let me second.
Because it just happens so fast, you know. But when and once again, if I help the families get stronger financially, I believe in fathers and mothers. When you help them, you can help the children. And, you know, they can create an environment for the kids that is safe, that is consistent. Because I think that when you have a home, and you stay at the home, then you get connected to the home. Then the children feel safe. They know they're not going from one place to the next,
It's all about your foundation.
Yeah. You gotta have that. And if they're not going one place, they can get connected to the school. The people will know them. They will understand them. They get connected to the neighborhood. They connected to the community, and they end up loving their town.
Mm-hmm. And
respecting the town.
Absolutely.
And respecting each other. And they don't be killing each other and fighting each other and robbing Mrs. So-and-so down the street there. Because I grew up with her, and she like my auntie.
And so I'm not going to rob her. Right.
I'm looking out for her. I'm not kidding you. 2 days ago, I was driving down the street, coming up to my house, and this guy came popping out the car. He's like, you Miss Tarpley? I said, yeah. He said, oh, you Miss Tarpley? I said, yeah. And he said, so he started talking about people, and he was just so frustrated. He wasn't attacking me, but it appeared like he was, because he was like,
he's passionate.
Yep. But he was like little, you know, and it was a little boy. He ran and got my neighbor. Because he's like, I think she's getting accosted. That's what he said. He said, I'm scared for her. Because he didn't like the way he was yelling at me. And then I told him, I said, I appreciate you looking out for me.
And that's what we need.
Yeah, and he's like 9 years old.
See, very good. Very good.
You know, and I was like, woo. But the guy, he was a little off. He was. I don't know, but he was off. Because of my skills in juvenile, I was able to de-escalate him.
Okay.
But, you know, and I wasn't like up here with him, because maybe somebody else would have, when he came up to him like he did, they might have would have got up there too.
And you know where that's gonna go.
That's right. So I had to come de-escalation, you know, and like being the mediator.
That's it.
I had to let him go ahead,
control the conversation,
and bring him back down. And we end up, and at the end, he ended up crying.
So he's able to express himself. See,
yeah,
that's good
like,
stuff.
wow.
So I was going to ask the next question, but you already, look, that's your scenario or your story just actually shared it, because I was going to ask, are you approachable? Clearly. So, yes.
Yes. I'm usually like this all the time, you know.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. Now, how about that person that is, my office hours are from 9 to 5, and not answer questions after 5.
No, you know what? When I was on council last time, mind you, I was working a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up and close and personal in people's lives. So that takes a lot of energy because people got to get plugged in. You know, and when you up like that with them, they plug into you. And so then who you plug into? So I had to plug in. And so he gave me that. That's like a gift I think I have. And so I always kept my phone on. And people call me in the middle of the night and I answer the phone. There's no off time when you're on council. But from what I'm hearing these different things that the job of council is to pass legislation and to check the budget. And I see no mention of that you are an advocate, that you are a representative, that you are a spokesperson for your constituents. I'm not hearing that. But that is part of the job. You know, with some people, I guess they just like certain parts of the job.
But here's the problem. When I vote, I'm not voting for that. I'm voting for somebody that's speaking for me. So I need to hear the latter part that you said. Right. I need to know that I can come to you so that I can vote for you.
Right.
Because all that other information, okay, you can pass it, you can read it. I can read it.
That's right.
Like, okay, what are we doing here?
Right. Nope. So what's important to me is constituent service. That's on one of my cards right here. That's my number one. That's one of my number one priorities. Is that I'm here for you. That's the number one job.
All right. Well, I'm going to read it. Youngstown 6th Ward. You have another option, Janet Tarpley. Ward resident services with professionalism and a personal touch. That's why I wanted the people to know you. Get to know her.
Yeah.
See progress in the ward and feel less frustrated. Committed, experienced, proven leadership. Vote Janet Tarpley. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I like your hair.
Thank you. And this is my second one that goes in a little bit more detail about exactly what I did. But this was my first card because I want everybody to know that constituent services is really important.
It's important. That's what's important. And that's what we are lacking in this area. We are lacking trust. Nobody trusts anybody. And when I say that, I'm saying the citizens of Youngstown don't trust not nan person up in there, real talk. And it's like, who's for me? And it's almost like everybody's against you. And it's like, these are that's why I call it politics. I still do.
Right.
And I'm like, because it's games within. And it's like, as soon as you decide you're going to trust somebody and you vote that person in that you may trust, and then they turn and do what the others did.
Right.
So it's like, who do you trust? And then you have people who don't vote. So my question to you is, can you explain to the people how important it is to vote, even if you have experienced distaste?
Right. Well, it's real important to come out and vote because you can't give up. When you give up on the voting, you're really giving up on yourself. And you can't do that. You can't give up on yourself because there are some people out here who are public servants. I don't call myself a politician. I've been a public servant all my life since I've been working. I worked at juvenile. I also worked with drug and alcohol. You know, I worked with addicted women, and I worked in prevention and intervention, violence prevention and violence intervention. So I've been dealing with public service. So when I came to be a council person, that's the eye that I come from, is that I'm a public service. If I'm here only because of you guys voted for me. If you don't vote for me, then I can't be there. And I'm your voice. That's all there is to it. I'm your voice. And if you got a problem, you should be able to come to me. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Sometimes I can't help you. I'm like, hey, I can try it, but I can't help you. I'm going to tell you the truth. But I'm never going to say to you.
That's what people want, honesty.
I'm never going to say, call such and such. That's not my job. I'm never going to say, that is not my lane. I'm never going to say that because right now, this is not a sprint, this is a mile. And guess what? We can go into somebody else's lane in a mile run because we can't do this overnight. This takes work.
Or how about, let me write down your concern and I'll present it at our next meeting.
Yep. Find out. And I always tell them, hey, if I don't know, I'm going to find out for you. So I find out where you go. Now, do you supposed to call? Yes, you're supposed to call the heads of department. You're supposed to do that. But sometimes you don't get your response that you want. And that's when you get me. That's when you're supposed to come to me, because I'm your advocate. Hey, Mrs. Jones called you several times about this problem, and you guys haven't helped.
Miss
her.
Ross called about
Can you
the
help?
sticks at Wick Park after that storm.
Can you
A
help
week
her?
later, yes.
Yeah, because what's the problem?
She cannot
can't-
walk because she
yeah.
got to jump over branches.
Right, and what's the problem that you guys can't get to this? Why does she have to wait this long?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and usually that's when you gotta set a fire on the people and you get things done. So I don't understand why that's such a big problem. I really don't understand it. I
So
really have no
is it
idea.
safe to say the council is for the people?
It's absolutely for the people.
Okay.
And that's the reason why you got it broken up in wards. Because that person is watching over that ward. They're supposed to be looking out for your interests, your family interests, and the community interests in that particular area. And that is a small little area. Well, you know, it's not that small, but it's an area big enough for them to take care and manage it.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Janet Tarpley, who is running for Youngstown 6th Ward council person. Who are you going against?
Anita Davis.
Anita Davis. So there you are, lovely people. Make sure you guys get out there and check your ballot.
Yeah, vote.
Mark it. Vote, vote, vote. It is extremely important. See progress in the ward and feel less frustrated. Committed, experienced, proven leadership. Vote Janet Tarpley. Thank you so much for coming on Shop Talk with Mel. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.